Awesome Father in heaven, thank you for being such an amazing Father. And today we're going to talk about going home. So please be with us as we study your word. In Jesus' name, amen. I titled my remarks today, Time to Go Home. I think so. Time to go home for sure. Okay, there we go. We got it on. This verse may sound familiar to you. Do not let your heart be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. My Father's house are many rooms. You know, I don't know about you, but I learned it in King James. What does it say in King James? Mansions. Mansions, rooms. Well, a little downgrade there, but hello. If it were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? That's so cool. It's just like, pay attention. This is for real. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you with me, and that you may also be where I am. If there were no other words in the Bible, that's the coolest of all, isn't it? Our whole hope is based on that. Jesus tells us that there's rooms in this beautiful heavenly mansion. You know, I mentioned about it was mansions and then it was rooms, and the truth of the matter is, when I looked a little bit, the original meaning of the word would actually probably be translated tent, because it has an essence of being temporary. So, mansions, room, now we're at tent. But let me tell you a little bit about this place where there's tents for us all. First of all, it says that in Revelation 21, it says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. Now, this is a new heaven and a new earth. This is another place. Hey, this is right here on our earth. That's cool. No wonder it's a temporary place. We're only going to be there 1,000 years. Can you imagine living where you don't have to even have a watch? Oh, that's so hard to believe. I saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, look, God's dwelling place is now among the people. Isn't that going to be neat? And he will dwell with them, and they will be his people. And God himself will be with them and be their God. How amazing. Well, I thought it'd be fun to talk a little bit about this home we're going to go to. So, temporary in heaven. This is the temporary one now. This is the permanent one I'm talking about. Here it says, so God will create a new earth, and then he'll bring Jerusalem down here. But let's take a look at what it says about it. In Revelation 21, it says, the angel who talked with me, and John's getting a vision, and he had a measuring rod of gold to measure the city, its walls, and its gates. So how big do you think the city is? Well, it's pretty big. The city was laid out like a square, as long as it was wide. He measured the city with the rod and found it to be 12,000 stadia. Okay, how long has it been since you've gotten out your stadia stick? But it's 12,000 stadia in length and width and as high as it is long. That means it must be a cube of 12,000 stadia. Well, I thought maybe it would be good if I looked up how far that was. Whoa! 1,379 miles. Whoa! Cubed. So if you got on an airplane and flew to Paxton, Nebraska, that's how far it is, it would be 6 hours by air, or 20 hours and 38 minutes at freeway speeds, according to Google. There's another route you could take that's a little longer, but oh my goodness, that is huge. Yeah, I'm thinking that the tents are going to be pretty nice if that's how big the city is. And Revelation 21:17-20 says the angel measured the wall using human measurements. Now we're going to use human measurements. And it was 144 cubits thick, equal to 72 yards thick. Whoa! Whoa! I'm pretty sure you can't hear through those walls. Maybe they've never heard me sing with my angelic new voice, of course, I'm talking about, So what an amazing place. Woo! It says the wall was made of jasper and the city of pure gold. This was the shiniest picture I could find. But I bet when the sun shines on this pure gold, it's going to be amazing. Pure as pure as glass. The foundation of the city walls were decorated with every kind of precious stone. Now, I know you've read this before, but this is kind of cool. So here they are. These are the foundations. Now, keep in mind the foundation is at least 72 yards thick. Whoa. And here they are. The first one of jasper, the second of sapphire, the third of agate, the fourth, the whole foundation, one upon another. Isn't this amazing? And the fifth onyx, the sixth ruby, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th turquoise, the 11th jacinth, something like that, and the 12th amethyst. Isn't that amazing? That is just, this is like blow your mind stuff. This is that tent, the tent he's got making for us. That is so cool. Well, let's read on. My goodness. Did I tell you about the doors? Revelation 21 goes on to say that the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Now, personally, I don't want to meet the oyster. I don't think so. That's an amazing oyster. It was made of a single pearl. That is so cool. The great street of the city was of gold, as pure and as transparent as glass. Wow, that is so amazing. Yeah. But when do we get to go? I'm starting to get excited about going now. That's pretty neat. Well, as astonishing as this place is, Jesus cannot is longing to see us. I think as much as we're longing to get there. I'm pretty sure we won't have to wear masks. But God does tell us that he knows when he's coming. He's known for a long time. But no man knows the time or the hour. But about that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. So there is a time. We just don't know when it is. And it will be pretty amazing. So, it's amazing. It's got to be near. What should we do while we're waiting? I know I feel like a kid sometimes. It's hard to know what to do. Well, first of all, Matthew 24 tells us to be on the watch. Keep watch at all times. It says, but understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what time of the night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch. It would not have let the house be broken into. So you must be ready, because the Son of Man will come in an hour when you do not expect him. Could be this afternoon. Well, anyway, tomorrow. All right. So we're supposed to be on the watch and be ready at all times. But just to help get us ready, he's given us some clues. And one of the most looked for events in all of history, you remember, was Jesus coming as a baby. And, well, I don't know if they expected him as a baby necessarily, but the first coming of Jesus was a very historical moment. And there were some amazing theologians and rabbis and Pharisees and Sadducees and people that studied the books forward to backward. They knew everything in the prophecy except Jesus when he came. They missed it. They missed it. God gave them every kind of evidence to know. And as we look back on Jesus, the predictions of Jesus' birth and when and where and how, wow, there were so many of them. We're sitting in exactly the same thing. There's so many things that are telling us it's time, it's time, it's time. I'm not going to miss this one. I got news for you. Whether I'm ready or not, I'm not going to miss it. Matthew 24 says, now he's asking you to pay attention, actually. He said, now learn this from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that the summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. So he's asking you to pay attention. He wants you to pay attention. He wants you to know what's going on. he says, keep watch. He wouldn't go to all this trouble to tell us to watch if there wasn't any reason or benefit in it. So let's look at some of the benefits and reasons that Jesus gives. In fact, let's look at some of the signs. I like the thought of looking at some signs, so we're going to look at that. The first one is signs in the religious world. You know, in the end of time, there will be a lot of stuff going on that's under the name of religion. Matthew 24, verses 4 and 5 says, take heed that no one deceive you. I think that means someone's trying to lie to you. Anymore, every time I pick up the phone, I'm expecting somebody to lie to me. Just last night, I'm calling because I want to make sure you got your credit going in the right direction. You are not. Lie. Okay, this is in the religious realm. Take heed that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name. Wow. Saying, I'm the Christ, and they will deceive many. Who would fall for that? Not me, because I happen to know that his feet aren't going to touch the ground. What if they were able to make it look like their feet weren't touching the ground? Boy, that'd be scary, because I've always been counting on that part. Jesus was telling us about the false deceptive teachings that would abound in the last days. Many would claim to speak for him, about him, and do things and change things and twist things and convince you that they are right and lead you down a false path. Be aware. Matthew 24, then if anyone says you, look, here's the Christ, or there, don't believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible. I really like that part. If possible. So that means it's not possible. They would deceive even the very elect. That's us. See, I have told you beforehand. Therefore, if they say, look, he is in the desert, do not go out there. Look, he's in the inner room. Do not believe it. So he's given us plenty of warnings. And we're told that they will do things like change times, dates to worship on, things to do, rules about things. They're going to change things. But Jesus says, when I come, you're going to know, because like the lightning flashes, it's hard. You can be asleep with your eyes down and see the lightning. Do you know that? It's so bright. It's as if Matthew 24 says, for as lightning that comes from the east and is visible even to the west, across the whole sky, so will the coming of the Lord be. That is so awesome. Now, another sign that I think about is wars and rumors of wars. We got both of those going on right now. If they're not at war, they're talking about going to war. Matthew 24 says, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled. For all these things must come to pass. That's really sad. But the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Before the 20th century, we had never had a worldwide war. Well, there wasn't people living on all the corners that had the ability to fight each other. But a study conducted at the Cornell University in the nearly 2000s, titled Deaths from Wars and Conflicts in the 20th Century, estimated 231 million just in the 20th century. Once they started World War I, and they did World War II, and then Vietnam. But just in the 20th century, 231 million people died from war. How many people in the United States? 330 million-ish. Practically as many people as live in the United States died in that one period. That's a short period also. Since World War II, we've lived with the knowledge that we could all be destroyed in a moment. And apparently we've had a couple of close calls that we didn't know about. So wars. Well, there's another big estimation and sign of Jesus coming, and that is calamities. Now, this is where I really got interested. I thought, okay, I know there's been earthquakes and famines and fires and all this stuff, but let's actually look into it, Marcia, see what we can find. Well, I thought this was pretty interesting. This is from 1901 to 2015, I believe. And it shows you the numbers of earthquakes that have occurred throughout the earth. I'm going to guess, would you say they've increased? Now, it doesn't show the last 5 years. Guess what? Boom, even more. And as a matter of fact, I did a little searching because I thought I got real interested in this. I found out that the top 10 worst earthquakes of ever that they have been able to discover, and obviously some of them that will go back pretty far, they had to estimate the magnitude by the damage and some of the refuge and so forth. So some of these are estimates. But there they all are. Do you recognize any? How about number 2? Alaska. Number 2, a 9.2 magnitude. Thank you. Magnitude earthquake. I remember seeing pictures of some of the damage. The water in the bay would go wash clear way up to the side of the mountain beside the bay. It was unbelievable. And of course, the death toll wasn't as high as it could have been in more populated area. But number 2 in all of history was our own Alaska. Maybe you recognize some of these places. Were you in Japan in 2011? Do you remember that one? Wasn't that long ago. They had quite a bit of damage to oil fields and as such, as I recall. Well, that's the 10 worst in measuring. But how about the most deadly? How about where did it happen where the most people lived and were hurt the most? And that would bring us to the top 5. Number 2, Port-au-Prince, Haiti. You probably remember that one. Gil had the opportunity to go there as a building missionary and help rebuild their hospital and get things back in shape. Horrific damage. They don't build their buildings with rebar like we do, Kelly. Those of you that have been on missions, we put rebar in ours. They don't always do that. And so when the earth quakes a bit, boy, do people die. So that was 316,000 people died, not from disease. This is just from stuff falling on them. That's just terrible. So those are the numbers, and you can see the magnitude as well. Turkey apparently is not very lucky. Apparently it's pretty populated because one of them happened in the year 115. So exactly how they came up with the exact records, I'm not sure, but and then one in 525. So this is going back through all of history. Okay, how about ones this century? How about if they were over 8 just since 2000? Well, now you might recognize some. I'm thinking Sumatra is not where I want to live. That's a lot of stuff going on there. Look at that, 8, 8, 8, 8, 9, 9. Wow. No, thank you. Okay, how about this year? Now, what is this? July is the 7th month, so half a year. So far, we've had 5 over 7. What? 5? This year, guys, since one a month. Since the beginning of the year. Oh, I'm sorry. There was one on Thursday. 7.3 in Papua New Guinea. Did you catch that on the news Friday morning? 7.3. That's this month. That's now. That's pretty amazing. So I've heard people say, oh, we've always had earthquakes. I got news for you. They're stronger and more, and boy, are they happening often. Guys, it's time to go home. He's telling us to wake up, pay attention. Okay, so we got those earthquakes. Whew, that was pretty exciting to find out how lucky we were to live in the Pacific Northwest, because we probably won't get any here. We don't live on that San Andreas Fault, do we? No, we don't. We're north of that. We should be fine. We live with volcanoes. That's right, I forgot. Okay. So, how about other natural events that have happened? This is all kinds of disasters. All right. So, this one includes, this is from 1950 to 2015. And these are natural disasters such as earthquakes, tsunamis, destructive storms, that'd be your hurricanes and such, floods, fires, mudslides, extreme temperatures that did damage. So anything that was considered a natural or a catastrophic damage event falls into this category. Whoa. I'm thinking maybe we should go home and pack, because I think we're leaving here pretty soon. Oh, that's right, skip the packing part. You don't need any of that stuff when you get there. Okay. Shall we talk about why we're wearing our mask? Oh, why not? They did say, and pestilence. So I thought I better do a little homework on pestilence. And here's what I discovered. Okay, there they are. These are the top killers in the form of diseases that have hit Earth's history. Smallpox goes back to 3,000 years. That was before the Earth was formed, so I'm not sure who died of it then, but forever we've had smallpox, and apparently we conquered it in 1978, and that's if everybody keeps vaccinating children, I guess. 300 million people or more, who knows? But that's been a bad one. Black Death, wow. Killed a lot of people. How many of these have happened just since 1900s? Quite a few. Now these are in order of death rate. So you can see the Spanish flu there with 50 million, and AIDS, of course, that was a pretty bad one, still kind of going, still going on. Asian flu, that H2N2, one that you get a shot for sometimes, the Hong Kong flu, and swine flu. Oh, look at that, 585,000 people killed with COVID-19. Oh, I'm sorry, this morning the new numbers came in. 603. It went up since I first did my slide on Thursday. Wow, pretty amazing, isn't it? Look at all the lines that have just happened in the last century, and especially of late or currently. We're at greater risk for these type of problems than ever before for a variety of reasons. Of course, they include such things as global population. There's a lot more people. We travel in ways we never traveled before. You can be in China and landing in New York in just a matter of a few hours. It's pretty amazing. And of course, immigration but we're so much smarter now because we know how to take its picture. They didn't know how to take a picture of a virus years ago, so that's pretty cool. COVID-19 is the most devastating plague to ravage human mankind this century. Not because the number is the highest, because it's just getting started, but because of the potential of what can happen. I heard Pastor Batchelor was talking to Nedley from the Weimer Institute. He's the president there, on an interview a couple of months ago when this COVID thing first started. And I was blown away, had to rewind it several times, what he said. Because he said that virtually every epidemic, AIDS, SARS, Spanish flu, all of them, started from eating unclean animals. And I said, what? What? I had never heard that. He went on to say, because we are an unclean animal, we spread them readily. This is why when you get infected from a cow, mad cow disease or some kind of disease, you might die, but you don't spread it. That's kind of huge. There's a physical difference between clean and unclean animals. I had no idea. I thought we did it because God said not to eat them. I didn't realize that there was a physical thing you could point to and say, these are clean and they don't spread human to human. These are unclean, and you get it, you can spread it like crazy. That's interesting. If you get an infection from an unclean meat, you will readily spread it to other human beings, and that's exactly what's happening. We know this one came from a bat. I did a little more research thinking I'd like to find more information on that subject on other material. There's lots and lots of material on this virus. Nobody knows what clean and unclean meat is. They don't talk about it because they'd have to admit they got it out of the Bible if they would start talking about clean and unclean. So they don't. Nobody, no matter how many times I put it in Google, I couldn't get hardly anything. And finally I found one little thing that said, this is from a couple of professor doctors, and it said, for centuries epidemics had killed thousands of Egyptians and Hebrews. Ancient treatments rarely helped. Often the cure was worse than disease. And of course I'm reminded of this. I found my best source was in the Bible. So here it is in Exodus. He said, if you listen carefully to the Lord your God and do what is right in his eyes, if you pay attention to his command and keep all his decrees, including Leviticus 11 decrees, I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. Wow. Then the health laws of Leviticus 11 said not only to avoid eating clean and unclean food, but it also went on to tell you how to treat the carcasses. Should you come upon a possum in the road, you're allowed to get it out of the road, but then you have to clean and wash, and then you have to separate yourself till after dark before you're considered clean. They didn't know about bacteria and viruses, but God said, now just pay attention and just do what I'm telling you. Now we go, okay, that makes sense. That's called quarantine. That's what we do today. Moses recorded hundreds of health regulations, and not a single one of the regulations that are described in the Bible are contrary to the medicine that we have today. That was before they'd even looked at a blood cell under a microscope. And God told us what to eat, what not to eat, and what will keep us from getting less apt to be sick. He wanted us to be well. This is from the disease, the Bible. It says, it's from a book about secrets for the 21st century. Thousands have died through the centuries. However, because doctors ignored the biblical rules, finally, when doctors read and tried these guidelines, they quickly discovered how to prevent the spread of epidemics. They figured out that when God said, set them aside, put them outside the camp, leave them alone, that's called quarantine, and it works pretty good. Thus, Moses could be called the father of modern infection control. Even today, they're giving Moses the credit. Excuse me. Even today, we are still benefiting from God's 3,500-year-old instructions. Awesome. I thought that was amazing. That, in fact, a recent plague, I think it was I was trying to find the exact plague, but they say that the doctors, I think it was the rat one, the bubonic, that Europe was dying like crazy, and they couldn't control it. And finally they decided to go to Leviticus 11 and 13. It's very good on keeping people isolated. And they did that, and they finally got a control of it because they went to the Bible. Amazing. Amazing, amazing. All right. Imagine that. There is a good medical book out there, and it can help you. And it tells you about what to do between you and critters. And it makes a difference between clean ones and unclean ones. Not just putting 7 on the ark, but telling you what you should do and which ones you can eat and which ones you can't eat. Leviticus 13, I know you can't read that, but that's only half of it. But if you read the whole chapter, it would tell you all about what to do, how long to quarantine, what to do exactly under every kind of infection you can imagine. Anyone that has skin disease, it goes on and on. If you haven't read Leviticus 13 for a while, you might get it out. It's quite interesting. And I think every doctor should read that at least once. Okay, I don't want to dwell on the flu anymore. Let's get away from that. So what's another sign? Well, economic and civil unrest. Oh, swell. Bad enough that we're going to get sick and wars and infected by bats, but economic unrest and unbridled greed. 2 Timothy 3:1-2. But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, and unholy. Wow. I don't know, are there any teachers here? None of you work with people like that, of course. That's good. But that's what our world looks like, isn't it? I mean, this looks like it's the last soap opera that you might have passed over. I don't know. The Bible does not condemn wealth. In fact, God uses that as a really great way of thanking you sometimes for some of the things you do and helping us to get stuff done overseas and work and all over the place. There's great spiritual blessings in money. So money isn't the problem. It's that part where lovers of money and greed. The Bible does point out, however, a few concerns. Love of money is the root of all evil. You've heard that one. That's why Jesus urges us, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, but lay up treasures in heaven. I know you know that one. Around the world today, we see economic unrest increasing as a few people amass huge amounts of wealth while everyone else struggles to stay afloat financially. There seems to be a bigger divide from those that have and those that have not than there ever has been. This economic turmoil that has arisen from the current pandemic has and will do serious damage to many of the small businesses. What will look like as a economy, and I'm talking about the world, a year from now, I don't know how we'll do. Serious concerns. Well, some other signs. Love of money. Okay. Aha. The sun and the moon and the stars. Did anybody see the comet? Yay! Well, apparently Gil's eyes are better than mine because we did get up at 4 o'clock, but he could see it and I couldn't. So I tried. Almost 2,000 years ago, God gave a prophetic description of contemporary life today. Here's what it says in Luke 21. There will be signs in the sun and the moon and in the stars, and on earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them from fear, and the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven will be shaken, and then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now, when these things begin to happen, look up and lift your hands up because your redemption is drawing nigh. Hello, how cool. Yes, okay, well, let's look at a couple of the promises. Revelation 6 says there'll be great earthquakes. We talked about that. And the sun will turn black. We had an eclipse. Does that count? And made out of, like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red. Well, we've had some pretty good fires. And the stars in the sky fell. That comet, does that count? Okay, let's take a look. Well, actually, there's some pretty momentous events that have happened, and they happened exactly when they should in relationship to a big event that God wanted to get our attention to. You recall 1844 and the proclamation that Jesus was coming, and a lot of attention was paid. Well, about that time, several other events that fit this description very nicely. The great earthquake of 1735, most deadly earthquake ever recorded. On May 19, 1780, an unprecedented darkening of the day time. Sky was observed across northeastern United States and portions of Canada. This darkness was so complete that people had to light candles at noon, and chickens went to roost in their sleep. Went to roost to sleep. No, it was not an eclipse. Something made the sun dark. Ooh, there was a red moon day. That night when the moon rose, contemporary accounts recorded that it had the appearance of blood. And then You think the comet is great. You should have been here. This was in November 13 of 1833, the stars of heaven fell in one of the largest, most impressive meteor showers ever known. For a period of over 9 hours, more than 100,000 meteors fell per hour. These events are part of Bible prophecy indicating that the world had moved into the time of the end. And we've been there for a little while. So now it's creeping up on the end of time. We definitely are in the time of the end. 2 Timothy 3, 1-5 says, remember this, in the last days there will be many troubles, because people will love themselves, love money, brag, and be proud. They will say evil things against others, and they will not obey their parents or be thankful or be kind to people God wants. They will not love others, will refuse to forgive, will gossip, and will not control themselves. They will be cruel, will hate what is good, will turn against their friends, will do foolish things without thinking. They will be conceited and will love pleasures instead of God, and will act as if they serve God, but they will not have his power. Stay away from these people. Moral decay. I don't need to say anything more, do I? Moral decay. There it is, on every hand. We're knee-deep in it, that's for sure. I like this last prediction that I'm going to share with you today because it says that the gospel of the kingdom will go to all the world. And there have been amazing things that have happened in the last few decades. And in fact, if you want to count back a couple of, maybe even one decade, you can really see a huge difference on the ability for the gospel to reach the world through things like Adventist World Radio, the God pods that they give around the world that they power by sun, and they can listen to amazing testimony of God in the most remotest of places. Who would have ever thought that there would be a way that the gospel could be communicated like it is today? It would be amazing. Gospel to the world. Matthew 24 says that, "And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all nations. And then the end will come." We've had great, amazing missionaries and a thirst for the Bible. I've had the privilege of being able to share Bible studies with a few people, and it's amazing the interest that people that I would have not thought to be that interested they want to hear about it. They want to know. You have information that they would love to know, and they want to know what's going on. They want to study. So all you have to have is a will and your Bible. And if you need lessons, I can help you with that. Behold, I come quickly. My reward is with me. I'm bringing my tents. I got one for you. No longer will there be any more curse. We've been looking at a lot of curses, a lot of damage, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain. No more. All gone. He's coming. Time to go home. Father in heaven, I thank you for these amazing promises and these watch out that we know, and we know we're very close, Lord. Please help us to hang on and stay ready and be ready, and help us to be willing to share with anyone and everyone we meet. That time is short, and we know that you are giving us very, very clear signs that you are at the door. Please, Lord, help us stay attentive and prayerfully waiting and watching for you. In Jesus' name, amen.